Hello YouTubers, RogueMonkeyJr here, and in today's video I'm going to give my honest opinion about Firestorm. Now I didn't want to put out a video yesterday because I didn't feel as though I got enough hours in Battlefield Firestorm to actually make a full video talking about what I like, what I don't like, aspects of the game that needs work, and things that I believe would improve the BR experience that is Firestorm right now. So yesterday I think I got roughly 5 or 6 hours of Firestorm gameplay in, so I'm way better equipped now to make a fully fleshed out opinion on the game mode. So we're going to start off with things I like about Firestorm. So the gunplay. Obviously, the gunplay is probably one of the best parts of Battlefield 5. I really enjoy the faster time to kill as opposed to BF1 and the way that weapons handle in general, and that also shines in Firestorm. The TTK is pretty good. I think it's pretty well balanced. I don't think there's anything to do there. The game looks good, obviously. It's Frostbite engine, always looks gorgeous. The sounds are pretty awesome. I feel like I hear footsteps even more in Firestorm than in the base game. I don't know why that is. Might just be a placebo effect. Also, visibility seems to be a little bit better in Firestorm than in the base game. Again, maybe a placebo effect. I really enjoy the armor system. I think that's something that Firestorm nails really well. Much like Apex Legends, you don't have to switch out your armor pieces if your armor gets damaged. You only need to find the armor plates and patch those back in to your light, medium, or heavy armor vest that you can equip on your character. So that's something I really enjoy. Being able to shoot in the down state, that's something that I really like. It's a really good idea. However, it does need some fine tuning. The aiming while you're in the down state is fucking awful. I know whether we're trying to get at with the aiming, like make it a little bit more sluggish because you're bleeding out and stuff, but it really feels awful, and I think that they should take a second look at that. The knifing I'm not really a fan of. I feel like it just creates a lot of thirst between players that are down, so you can crawl up to an enemy and thirst them with your knife and they're going to do the same to you. I feel like it's an unneeded mechanic. If you have a sidearm, fine. If with the knife, I just feel it's kind of eh. The Firestorm is absolutely fantastic. It is scary as hell. It is dangerous to be in. It destroys everything on its path, and you're pretty much blinded if you're right on the cusp of the Firestorm, which you really don't want to be in the Firestorm whatsoever, so I think that's something that they did very well. The objectives and the safes that are throughout the map, I think that is a brilliant idea. It converges and makes for the mid-game to be a little less boring, as most people will go to those objectives to get the supply bins opened. Also, the safes, I really like that mechanic that it's a high risk, high reward, so you can go to that safe. It takes a little bit of time to open, but you get pretty good loot in return for actually having opened it. Next, things that I don't like or I'm still on the fence about. So vehicles, and more specifically, heavily armored vehicles. First of all, vehicle gameplay in Battlefield 5 in general, I'm not really a fan of. I feel like it's much too sluggish. And in Battlefield 5 Firestorm, I feel like if you don't have explosives, if you're not lucky enough to find those explosives to take care of the vehicle, then you're just pretty much screwed. So I think there still needs to be some balancing to be had between vehicles and the amount of explosives you can find around the map. Maybe I was just unlucky and didn't find explosives. I managed at some point to disable a tank in its turret with an AT rocket pistol, but after that I didn't have enough explosives, nor did my team, to actually take the tank out. So all I was doing was like kiting the guy, because his turret speed was so slow. I was just kiting him, and it was just a really boring situation to have between a vehicle and infantry player, because he wouldn't get out of his tank as he was alone in that tank, and I couldn't do anything back at him because I didn't have any more explosives. So I think there is some refining to have for vehicle or heavy vehicle versus infantry gameplay. They definitely take a look at that, so I'm still on the fence about having heavy vehicles. I find that solos don't work at all in Firestorm. I think it's a much better experience in squads and possibly duos. Solos is just like, I don't see the point of it. I really don't. I can see Some people may be wanting to play solos, but all in all, I think the mode would be much better if it was squads only, and we'll talk about that a little bit later down the line. The rarity slash attachment system, I personally don't like it. I'm not a fan of long range scopes, and the fact that the higher rarity guns almost always have scopes on them, like for example the STG-44, the pink one, which is the best rarity you can get, has a 3x on it, but I would much rather have all the attachments that the STG-44 does have with that rarity, but have maybe just the NIDAR sight as opposed to having that 3x. So I think I'm penalized because I don't like magnified optics, but I do want those attachments that maybe lessen the recoil, has an increased mag capacity, but I don't want to use those better rarities because of the sights that they have. So I would much prefer to have an attachment system where you pick up different rarities of attachments to put on the weapon that you want, or maybe even have different rarities of the weapon but with no sights attached, and just make all the different sights spawn throughout Halvoy so I can choose which sight I want to put on the higher tiered weapons. I think that would be a much better way to go of it. The movement seems kind of clunky. At certain moments, I felt like I was running through mud, that nothing was very responsive. Switching weapons doesn't feel all responsive. I felt like I would switch weapons and then would take forever to take my secondary weapon out, and more often than not, it would lead to me getting knocked down. So that didn't feel very good at all. Also, I feel like you have to get way too close to doors to actually open them. You have to be literally on top of the door to be able to open it. So I think there's maybe a little bit of a leeway they could give us in order to actually open those doors. For me personally, the game stutters. I think that a lot of people have been experiencing stutters for Battlefield 5. I mean, I made a video about it when Battlefield 5 launched, and a lot of people are clearly having issues with stuttering in Battlefield 5 and low performance issues even with higher end systems. So I think the game still needs optimization. I often felt the frames dip down below 50 and then go back up to the 90-100 range. I by no means have an awesome PC, but it's not a low-end PC either. So I don't know if that was only me. Again, that might be personal experience, might be a problem on my end, but I feel as though it is a pretty consistent issue and a lot of people are having that. Jumping out of the plane, why is the mouse so goddamn slow when you're looking around? When you're inside the plane, I have no idea. I felt like they just kept the turret speed, the turret turn speed of tanks and applied it to the plane in the air, but I don't understand. It just feels really bad to look around when you're in the plane, so I think they should just make it standard mouse speed. Don't slow it down for no reason. It doesn't need to be that way. Also, it would be nice to have a indicator of how fast you're going and to be able to maybe point down more when you're parachuting, to go down straight instead of always being in that diagonal trajectory. It would just be easier to go where you want to go and not have to time and wiggle around and move your parachute in order to come back around because you went too far, even though you were pointing your mouse straight down. So I think the jumping mechanic and parachuting needs a little bit looking at. And finally, match times. Match times. I have waited upwards of 5 minutes to get into a game. Now, I think this is probably very much due to the fact that Firestorm is behind a $30 paywall because Battlefield 5 has been on sale for God knows how long. But I think it also has to do with the fact that there's also solo game modes. So all these things make it so that, you take a 100% player base. They have access to the regular Battlefield 5 multiplayer, and then they have access to Firestorm. So let's say about 25% of people will play Firestorm at any given moment. And then 12.5%, so half of the 25% decide to play solos, and the other 12.5% decide to play squads. That really limits the amount of people that are playing Firestorm, squads, and solos at any given moment. So I think that they should just make it one mode, squads, to get rid of solos. That would very much improve the match times and also make the game free to play, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. So that's pretty much my list on the things that I don't like. Now, things that need work, that really need work, are the looting. Now, I know that they made a statement, I think yesterday, that the looting was getting some reworks as soon as possible. So the bodies just vomiting loot all over the place when they get killed, it's awful. It's god awful. You have to sort through all the crap, and then sometimes items clip into each other, so you end up picking the wrong thing up, and then you're switching weapons and you always have to reload them. It's terrible. It's the worst thing since Aliens Colonial Marines, and that game was a piece of shit. Okay, that's how bad I think the looting system is in Battlefield 5 right now. Well, not per se the looting system, but the looting off of dead people is it's awful. It's awful. It's the worst implementation of it I've ever seen in a BR game, and I've played a hell of a lot of BR games. Next, the animations need some work. So getting into a down state, it's really weird. You're on your knees for a couple of seconds, and then boom, you're on your back and you're crawling around. It feels really odd. Reviving people also feels really bad. You're like putting your hand. You can see the player reviving you. He's like putting his hand towards you, but on your screen you're just standing there not doing anything. So the animations feel kind of weird at certain moments, so I think that those need to be looked at. I'm sure I missed quite a few animations to talk about, but I don't want to make the video too long. UI and HUD. I feel like this has been a point that Battlefield 5 has just gone wrong since the get-go. The UI and the HUD. Why does it have to show so many things on the right hand side? All the weapons and all this shit. It takes up so much of your screen for no reason. While you could just have a nice clean setup that shows maybe your two weapons pretty small in the bottom right hand corner, maybe with your pistol and ammo counts next to it. But no, you have to have everything in a square box separate, and all they have this big fucking menu of things that you have on your person with the backpack and all that different shit. Like, I don't need to see which backpack I have. Generally speaking, after you've played the game for a couple of hours, you'll just, know which backpack you've picked up, or you can go in your inventory to see which backpack you have. And I don't know, it just feels really bad. Also, the minimap is awful. What is with all that pixelation? It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Like in Battlefield 5 multiplayer, it's fine. It looks fine, but I don't know what happened to the one in Firestorm. It looks like it was drawn on fucking paint. I don't know what's up with that, but those things need work. The inventory, which also ties into the HUD, I'm really not a fan of it. I'm really not a fan of having it just open on the right hand side, and no, I think it should just be a full screen, like just open your inventory, dump stuff out, as opposed to having this your basic HUD expand into your inventory. Basically, you see the same thing. The only things that add to that is that you can swap your weapons from one slot to the other and swap your gadgets. But you could easily do that with a full menu to see your inventory. I'm really not a fan of it, but then again, that might be personal taste on my end. Matchmaking. Why are we still having issues with matchmaking? We have issues with matchmaking in Battlefield 5 multiplayer. We have issues with matchmaking in multiplayer Firestorm. I have been put into maybe 3 games of squads with a full squad. The rest of the time, it was maybe 2, and then sometimes I was put alone into a match of squads in Firestorm. It fucking sucks to be put alone into a game of Firestorm. Even if you're like the best player in the world, it's pretty hard to take out a squad of 4 people when you're alone. And I don't know why during that awkward load phase when you're in the hangar, that if people leave, they wouldn't sub in more people that are waiting in queue. Like, I don't understand why the matchmaking is this fucking bad for Firestorm. Like, it actually blows my mind. In PUBG, if somebody would leave your squad while you were waiting on the island, or on the map for that matter, then they would sub in other players that are waiting in queue to join your squad. So you, generally speaking, you'd always have a full squad when playing a match of PUBG. But in Battlefield 5 Firestorm, no. If people leave, you're fucked. There's not going to be somebody subbing in. If those players leave while you're in the waiting area, then you're going to be stuck with 3-2 or even playing solo against full squads. So I definitely think that needs to be looked at ASAP for the mode to actually be playable for people who want to play squads but are playing solo. If you're playing with a full pre-made squad, generally speaking, you're going to be 4 players. Like, your friends aren't going to leave on you and just leave you high and dry. But if you're trying to experience squads as a solo player, then yeah, more than likely you will end up with half a squad playing squads. So it just feels really bad. You have less of a chance to win. It just sucks. It really sucks. Ping system and comms. Now, this is something that Apex Legends has spoiled us with. The pinging system in Apex Legends is so goddamn good and easy to use that after that, when you go into other games, other BR games, you miss that pinging and comm system. It makes the whole experience of playing in squads seamless. You don't even need to talk to actually tell your team information, but the way that it is in Battlefield 5 Firestorm, they just kept the same ping and comm system that there is in the base game. And I don't think that the same things apply to Firestorm. There's much more information to give in Firestorm, like weapon here or ammo here, but all you have is the basic danger ping. So it doesn't say that you want to move in that direction, it just pings danger. So I think that would definitely need some work, and maybe take a few hints from Apex Legends in order to make it more user-friendly, just easier to communicate with your squad, as opposed to always having to talk, holding down the left alt button to voice comms with your team. They could definitely take a page out of Apex Legends playbook. Also, one of the other things that needs work is the victory. Getting a victory in Battlefield 5 Firestorm doesn't feel rewarding whatsoever. When I actually got a victory in Firestorm, I didn't even know I got one until like the game stopped and then you had the end screen. Like, I thought there was still people alive after I had killed the last person. That's how like unrewarding and underwhelming it felt to get a victory in Firestorm. And the wording, "you came first," is fucking I can't the amount of memes that have come out of that since the past day is mind-boggling. That like nobody thought that the wording "you came first." Anyways, you guys can figure that out for yourselves, but I think that that's one of the parts that definitely needs work. It needs more flair, it needs more pizzazz, something that you're like, wow, yeah, I got a win, as opposed to just like this half-assed, no, congratulations, here you go, you get a cookie kind of thing, you know? Now, wrapping up the video here with things I think would improve the Firestorm experience. So, number 1, respawning, okay? I know that BR started out with like no respawn system, and then Apex Legends introduced us to the respawning system, and I think that it makes squad play just that much more enjoyable, because if you do lose members in the early on stages of the game, you still have the opportunity to go respawn them in order to have a pretty decent chance at getting into the end game and possibly even winning that game. Sure, the person loses all his loot, his or her loot, when they get respawned, and it pretty much alerts everybody around you that, hey, we're respawning this guy, he's gonna be naked, he's gonna have no equipment, come kill him. But I feel as though it's so much better than to lose your friends like 5 minutes into the game and then they're just sitting there waiting. It would just make the whole experience more seamless and more enjoyable for everybody, I believe, as opposed to having the downtime of maybe 15 minutes if you die early on in the game. And it would also make thirsting a little bit less of a problem. Right now, if you get downed in Battlefield 5, you're pretty much screwed. Somebody's gonna come finish you as soon as possible, and if it's not somebody that's not down, then it's gonna be the dude like crawling towards you with a knife trying to finish you off to get the kill. So I think that it would be a very welcome addition to Firestorm. I know a lot of people say, well, it's a more hardcore experience. At the end of the day, gameplay is always more important than realism, in my opinion, and I think that respawning would just improve Firestorm vastly, like vastly. You could basically just, I don't know, call in your teammates from a chopper that comes to drop them down. It doesn't even have to be the same character, it can just be you call in a reinforcement, but it's the same person playing that character. I mean, there's a bunch of ways that you could make it so that still seems realistic and not calling back people with a data chip. But yeah, I think that's definitely something they could add into Firestorm, and everybody would win in that situation. And last but certainly not least, free to play. Firestorm needs to be free to play, or at least a standalone. I mean, even with a $10 paywall, a lot of people would probably be willing to invest $10 to experience Battlefield 5 Firestorm. But right now, you have to buy the full package, which is what, $30-something, depending on what currency you have. And I think that right now, it's just splitting the player base even further than it's already being split with all of the different game modes. Battlefield 5 has a wide variety of game modes, and it really splits up the community. It really splits up the player base. I know having Premium Pass did the same, but I feel like we're not going in a better direction having all these different game modes in Battlefield 5. And the fact that Firestorm is behind that paywall, only the people that already bought Battlefield 5 are more than likely going to play Firestorm, and not everybody that actually bought Battlefield 5 will play Firestorm. So having the game at least as a standalone, or even better, free to play, would give access to millions of people to play Firestorm. It would improve matchmaking times. You could even keep the solos and duos if you want, because there would probably be so many more people playing Firestorm that it wouldn't really matter if you had all these different modes and possibilities of playing solo, duo, and squads within Firestorm. So I think that's something that DICE and EA should definitely look at, because I mean, at the end of the day, Firestorm was a free addition to Battlefield 5, funded through microtransactions, which we haven't even had yet. So I don't really see the problem of making it free to play. People are going to buy microtransactions if they enjoy the mode. There's no question behind that. They are going to buy it. Also, it would make it so that it could have different controls and different HUD settings for Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 5 Firestorm. Right now, I have to change my minimap zoom every time I want to play Firestorm, because I don't like it having it so big in Firestorm, but I do like having it very big in Battlefield 5 multiplayer. So I could have different HUD and UI settings for each game, different controls, as opposed to having to filter through all the different controls. Okay, this one's a Firestorm control, this one's a Battlefield 5 multiplayer control. I think it would just make it a much better experience. A lot more people would have access to the game. Matchmaking times wouldn't be such an issue, and it would just be a superior experience and a better off thing for Firestorm for everybody, for Criterion, for EA, for DICE. But then again, that's just my 2 cents. They can do with it what they will. So the video's well past 20 minutes now. I'm sorry if I rambled. This was more of a freeform video. I put some bullet points down on pieces of paper, and I just wanted to run through the entirety of what I got from Battlefield 5 Firestorm. I love Battlefield. I love the Battlefield franchise. It's unfortunate that Battlefield 5 didn't really hit close to home for me, apart from the gunplay and the gorgeous graphics. Battlefield 5 was a complete mess, and is still at certain points a complete mess as of this date on March 26th. So I think that if they put their best foot forward, they put a lot of work into Battlefield 5 Firestorm, they make it free to play, it could be a fantastic BR experience. But as of right now, I think it's just okay. It won't be my go-to BR experience. Apex Legends just does so many things better for me in terms of Battle Royale and seamlessness, and the fact that you can get in and out of games really quickly. So that was quite the mouthful. Let me know your thoughts of Firestorm in the comment section down below. I'm looking forward to reading through all those comments, what you think of the game mode. Is it boring? Is it good? Do you enjoy it? Do you not? Do you think it could use some work? What parts of the Firestorm don't you enjoy? So yeah, let me know all those things in the comment section down below. I apologize for the lengthy video. I did have a lot of things to talk about. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.